All right, let's see if she turns on. Come on, baby. Come on, come on, come on. Come on. Yes. Keep going. Yes, yes. I'm not doing anything with you guys. Yes. Ah, smooth like a baby's ass. Yes. Hey. What is going on, YouTube? So we have a, I think it's a 93, 94, 93 Toyota Corolla. So first of all, the car was leaking gas. It was leaking gas, and hold on, I gotta close this. It was leaking gas to him, and then I guess since the car wasn't getting all the pressure, the fuel pressure, as it should, it was misfiring and doing all that crap. So he just started changing a whole bunch of shit, like everything. Like he literally changed distributor, spark plugs, wires, injectors, throttle body, the sensor over there. It looks like he cleaned the throttle body too, changed everything pretty much, right? But then the car was still giving him issues, but it was leaking fuel. So I would have started there, to be honest, because obviously, just like if you're leaking air somewhere, right, and you're getting like a, what do they call it, a evap leak or something, obviously the car's gonna act weird, right? And if you're not getting the right fuel pressure, I mean, that makes sense why the car is not gonna be getting the correct fuel. So he sold it to me with it leaking. Well, actually, he had a mechanic, and he even warned me about his mechanic. Well, not warned me because I don't use his mechanic, but he told me that his mechanic pretty much was ripping him off because he would change like a little part of the fuel line, and it would start leaking again. And that's what happened to me. Like when he sold it to me, it wasn't really leaking, and then all of a sudden my dad drove it home. He drove it like 30 minutes, and actually drove 30 minutes away. But I guess it just started pouring all the fuel out. She's pretty clean. Well, just original black body and stuff. So the car leaked all the fuel out. One of the fuel lines busted, so I took it to get fixed. They replaced the return. Just in case you didn't know, there's a line that brings the fuel over here. It brings it here to the fuel rail, and then there's a return line. So this part right here, this, like all this little stuff, he changed it, and he gave me like extra parts. So I actually changed like this one. I guess this one works when there's too much fuel or too little fuel, I don't know, but this has to do with that. So I'm gonna tell you guys what I did to the car. I got this freaking thing to turn on. So first of all, when I got it back from the mechanic, it turned on. We were driving it home, and then it just died. It was like dying, right? So actually it died. So we got here, and then it wouldn't turn on at all. So back to square one. Started messing with sparks. It was cranking. It was just not starting. It was just cranking, nothing, right? So I'm gonna tell you guys everything that I looked at, just so that you guys can diagnose it the same way. I'm not gonna say I know what the issue was, but from all the things that I've been doing, it's turning on now. It's turning on. I got it to turn on the first time, but you would turn it off, and then wouldn't turn back on. And then right now it's turning back on, so that's good. It's struggling a little bit to turn on. You have to press the gas. but it right now the first clip that I put in the beginning, I actually don't even touch the gas. I let it settle on its own, and it does. So that's good, really good. All right, so just gonna you guys are in front of the engine here. You guys are in front of the engine, so I'm gonna show you guys everything that I looked around. So I'm gonna zoom in and go with the flash. So one of the things I did, like I said, I replaced this part. Pretty easy to replace. There's like two 10mm or 8mm behind it, a bracket. You just pull it out, this hose comes off, replace it, boom, done. Injectors, I didn't do that, he did that, but he replaced the injectors. So injectors are here. Just make sure all the connections are on. What else did I do? So I pulled all the plugs out to make sure there was like no oil, because I actually had a Honda before and it was doing something similar, but what ended up being is that, and one other thing that it could be too. So I don't know about Toyota, but I know Honda, when you have oil in your spark plugs holes, there's oil that shouldn't be coming out there. So there's gaskets that go in down there where the spark like seals, and those gaskets wear out, and then that's where oil comes in. So obviously if the spark plugs get wet, it's not gonna let your car get the spark, because the spark plug is gonna be wet. So you can also look at that. That wasn't the issue. I didn't open this. Then there's the gasket right here for the valve cover. The Honda, when I opened that damn thing, it was full of oil. In right here, it shouldn't be full of oil, because the oil shouldn't be coming, I think, above this line right here. So maybe a little bit, but not a lot. I don't know, I'm not a mechanic. I've seen oil in there, but not a lot. So once I fixed that Honda, I turned it on and boom, like a whole bunch of smoke came out. So my guess is that when that smoke came out, because I don't know, it was burning all of that over extra oil, right? So that could be another thing, but it wasn't the case in this one. Another thing that I was doing when it was turning on, I was like unplugging sensors. I don't know, I unplugged this, I don't know why, but I unplugged this one. Anything that's related to fuel, spark, and air, right? So this is all like, I guess air related, because there's air. The fuel, like this was fuel related. He obviously changed the fuel injectors. Also, maybe you want to throw some Lucas injector cleaner. I did that too. What else? I disconnected the sensor to the throttle. This is the throttle position center. I actually swapped it. It's right here. So one thing, I went to the junkyard to get this one, and I noticed that the one I got from the junkyard, the position on this was different. So this one was way different than the one I got from the junkyard, which is over there. So maybe this was the issue, I don't know, but I replaced this, right? Anyway, as far as the throttle position center, if you guys pay attention, there's like a little yellow mark right there. So you always want to have this screw lined up with that line, because if you guys see right there, there's actually like some room for this to wiggle around. So you want to make sure it's in the, I think it's in the middle, like that's what it looks like, in the middle. So obviously maybe that's not in the middle, but it worked right now, so I'm not gonna touch it. But yeah, I did that. I replaced that. Sometimes I would unplug this sensor right here. I think that's called throttle something, but it's related to the throttle too. There's a sensor down there, and that part is really expensive. Right there, this sensor right here, they say that if you unplug that sensor, and when the car is running, and I think that's the air valve, air control valve, I believe. Yes, I think that's I believe that's the air control valve right there. So they say if you unplug that, and if the car stays running, or stays because this car was the RPM was too high. So they say that when the air control valve, is not good. So if you unplug it, it's gonna keep doing the same, because obviously it's like if it really didn't have anything there, if that part is wrong, right? The connection or the whole part itself. So that's one way you can tell too. They say that that's a test to do on that, to unplug it, and if it's the car still like accelerating itself, it might be that. I played with that. What else did I play with? Apparently these cars don't have a air airflow mass airflow sensor. So usually, I might be wrong, but I went to the auto parts to ask for it because I was gonna buy it. Because I thought it was this right here, right? Because it looks like a sensor goes to the airbox. But usually that airflow sensor goes more like in the closer to the throttle body, or in between throttle body to the airbox. In between. I went to the AutoZone. They said this car doesn't show anything for that. So I was like, what the hell? Like, and I told them, like, but it has one. Like, but if you actually pull this out, it's like plastic. Look it up. It's actually called air temperature control sensor. So I'm guessing this takes temperature of the air that's going in there. I guess that's why it's called temperature. That I did clean it up with brake cleaner, so you can do that too if you don't want to buy it. So you clean this one. Another thing that I looked at and I unplugged was down there, that connection right here where my finger is at. If you look, it goes to the block. Yeah, I think the block, yeah, where the heater hose connects, right, from the coolant. That's the coolant sensor, coolant temperature sensor. Since this car was, when it was cold, it would turn on fine. Well, not fine, but it would turn on, right? I would turn it off once it was warm. It wouldn't turn back on. Sometimes they say when the car is that sensor is bad, it's not gonna turn on, because I don't know, I'm guessing it tells the car, oh no, you're not hot, or you're not cold, or you're too hot. So it's not reading it. It's not reading correctly, right? So that's another thing that I was playing around with. I unplugged it. I took the whole airbox out to play with that one particularly. But I think when I did that, I messed with this one, because this one wasn't plugged in there. And I noticed that after that, I cleaned this one, and then it started working better. So what else did I do? Yeah, just touch the connections here, like make sure everything's plugged in. And the last thing that I did was actually, I was just playing, well, today I did, I replaced the sender, throttle TPS, throttle position center, throttle position sensor is this. I played around with that. Oh, I replaced it. I removed this whole air intake thing out, and I sprayed some the throttle. There's a little flap, if you didn't know. There's, when you hit the gas, or the gas, it opens that, and then that's when it sucks in the air, and that's how you're getting the air in there, right? So I put some of this throttle body cleaner. So this is your throttle body right here. Sometimes that gets really dirty with carbon buildup, but apparently when I pulled this out, it looked really clean. So apparently the guy that had it did that. So I pulled that out, clean, just spray it. I didn't even clean it, I just spray the shit out of it. I play so this is what you play for the throttle, right? This is your throttle cable. So actually when this is connected to the pedal and this is connected to that little flap that I'm talking about. So when you go like this, the flap moves, so you just spray it in there to make sure you're getting cleaner inside there. So last thing I did today, obviously I put everything back. The last thing I did, I was playing around with this because this one was really loose, right? So apparently this, you want, so right here where it's at, and right there, right where it's not moving, let's say that's a normal idle or a normal position. If it's like this, the car is gonna be really high on RPM. What you want is release it, and then it's gonna count, right? But then you also have the other one in the bottom. There's two cables, one top, one bottom. This one goes back when you accelerate, and then when you release the accelerator, my guess is that this bottom one is supposed to pull it back, and then they go like this, so it releases the tension. And then this takes, I don't know how it works. Someone can explain on the comments, but I played around with that. I adjusted it so it was really loose, so now it's like better. Right now that I need to do, so you guys see down there, there's like let me see, so down there, where is it? Right, so that little screw, right, I pull it out. It's supposed to be in there, so when that screw is in there, the position of that screw is gonna be more in, and then you guys see right there. The function of that. Well, actually, I fixed it. Did I? Oh yeah, it did get fixed because. Oh yeah, it actually came out. Interesting. It actually came out. So actually, it came out because it was in all the way in. It was like stuck in there. Interesting. I'll tell my dad. So it's this thing right here that I'm talking about. This one was like in there, and it wasn't making contact with that. So maybe that fixed it. Make sure this whole piece, it's not in there, stuck in there. Maybe I'll put some oil tomorrow. But this piece was like in there, like that, like where I'm pulling this rubber back. And what's supposed to do is this little screw right here, right, or the whole metal, a stick, screw, whatever, is supposed to touch. You guys can see the contact right there. It's supposed to make contact, and then I guess that makes everything work together. But yeah, I was messing with that. I didn't even know how it works. I just like, oh, let's see if to adjust the cables, you have to do the screws right here. So you have to do these screws. Like, let's say you want to pull it back. I'm trying to explain it simple. All right, so let's say you want the cable to go that way, to the left on your screen right now. You're gonna have to release this one, bring this nut back, so that space is gonna go that way. Boom, you tighten it, then it's gonna release this way. You wanna do the opposite, you're gonna do this way. You're gonna release this one, no, you're gonna release this one, give it more space so that you can pull it back on this side, and then you pull it back and tighten it. You do the same thing down there. This one actually, it was all the way down here, right here, and I got it all the way out there. I don't think it did anything though. Maybe it did, but that's the very last thing I did, and it worked. And then now I'm amazed that actually is making contact right there. See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You see the contact there. That's what's supposed to happen. But earlier, the part that looks white was it wasn't there. It was like in there to the left, to the right. but now it's making contact, so that's pretty. Maybe that fixed it. So I'm just showing you guys troubleshooting this car. So that's the only thing that I did. So this is the, you want to make sure you always have like denso shit on Toyotas. So actually I went to the junkyard, right? They had like 3 of these cars, the 93s, 94. I think this is the 1 point. Yeah, this is the, no, it's not, no, 16 valve. I think this engine is the 1.6. I don't know. Oh, timing belt. Wait, was the timing belt on? Reading 72. Oh shit. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so you guys can go to the junkyard and get yourself all these parts, because they're expensive, man. Like, you want to buy these parts that I just mentioned new, they're not cheap. When I asked for this little fucking thing, it was like 80 bucks, 85, and that's like the AutoZone one. Toyota is gonna be way expensive. Throttle body, it's probably like hundreds of dollars. Throttle position center, it was like 150. Injectors are expensive. I actually bought a coolant temperature sensor, but I didn't even use it. And then how you know the temperature sensor is working is, I guess, if your car is on and the fan is working properly, then that means it's working, because it is telling the car, hey, you're getting too hot, cool down. But yeah, all of these parts, very simple to get at the junkyard. Be nice to the cars. You know, some people go and they destroy them, but it's nice when you go and like you actually see everything there. Like I went and saw one, like that thing was whole, everything was there. The only thing they actually had taken was that sensor. But I'm happy because I had already got one from the other car, so that's pretty cool. Like, you know, if someone needs something else, and it's there. So yeah, so I hope this video helps you fix your Toyota. I don't know what years it's gonna apply to. Probably all the 90s, maybe even to the 2000s. They're probably the same crap. I think the only thing that's gonna change is the engine displacement. Newer ones are 1.8, older ones 1.6. So yeah, and she's running again. So obviously she's still struggling, but I think that little thing that came out had a lot to do with it. And yeah, guys, thank you for watching, and give it a like. We have a Z here, my brother's, and a cord. I'm put a lot of work into that thing. So if you like Hondas, I have the SI too. Give it a like, a subscribe, and thank you for watching and the support. Goodbye.